St John has only had 70% of its usual number of ambulances on the road today during peak periods of strike action by ambulance workers. New Zealand Ambulance Association, the NZAA and First Union members have withdrawn labour for 4 hours from the start of each of their shifts. It started at 4 this morning and will conclude at 4 tomorrow morning. They're going to repeat the action from 4 a.m. on Saturday until 4 a.m. on Sunday. Excuse me. The NZAA wrote that the St John offer to workers last Thursday fell well short of what the unions considered acceptable. And while the police are fully funded by the government, the fire emergency is funded mostly entirely through levies on insurance policies. The government funds around 83% of St John's costs through Health New Zealand and ACC. The rest, of course, made up of donations, fundraising, patient co-payments. So it's an issue that's been raised many times, but it's come to a head once again with more than 2,500 ambulance officers voting to withdraw their labour. Joining me now from the NZAA is the Division Chairman, Mark Quin. Mark, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Leah.
Hey, look, good to talk to you again, Mark. We're pretty much, 13 hours into the 24-hour strike. What have you been hearing from members? Have there been any incidents that you know of people not being able to get an ambulance today?
No, I haven't. As we worked hard with St John to provide life-preserving services across New Zealand to so that if people called 111 and they had an emergency and required an ambulance, that they would be getting one. Principally, it was around the low acuity of what we called the oranges and greens. They may have a delay getting an ambulance to those calls.
Right. So St John's, they made two separate offers that have attempted to pass on available funding, but to date these have fallen short of union expectations. How short are we talking, Mark?
Well, we're talking a number of percentages, really. The thing with the offers, the first offer was a one-off payment that didn't do anything and missed out a number of other staff that have coverage under our maka. And,
right.
And the second one is well short and doesn't even meet inflationary numbers over the last 12 months and even now. So, it's just disappointing to get it off, and while we acknowledge that they got some funding,
yeah,
it just doesn't really hit the mark, and we couldn't have even taken it out to the staff, and certainly unofficially the staff are just angry about the offer.
So you brought that up, Mark, because I was going to ask you. They did say they found some funding from New Zealand Health, but you're saying it was still didn't even meet inflation. Is it true? It had a 2 in front of it?
Yes, there was a 2 mentioned,
which is very low.
It just really, exactly, and our claims have not been unreasonable, and initially in the second year, which would have concluded in the end of June this year, that they had previously agreed to 6%, and then they pulled that. We had a written signed settlement. They pulled that due to funding and could only do a 1-year deal. And so you can imagine the expectations that staff had 6% there, and that was taken away from them.
One of their requirements was the removal of all industrial action. Why are the unions reluctant to do that? That's your power play?
Well, it is a bargaining chip, and it is. But I think there's through this, and it's happened over a number of years. There's a degree of mistrust in there and a lack of good faith because. Again, we negotiated a 2-year deal. They took it off, and we ended up in this situation today. But even leading up to in the last 5 years, we've had protracted negotiations. And while we understand the nature of bargaining, but it has actually been quite protracted, and we're probably part of the reason we're at that point. And we're just tired of it. We're tired of hearing the same old stories brought out about the funding, and this is part of the puzzle, is not only settling the claims, but also what's the future funding model for ambulance service in New Zealand that gives us confidence for the general public and the St John staff.
So has the government failed on their promise too, Mark? Because New Zealand First did pledge to fund 95% of St John's costs in its pre-election manifesto last year. Where's that gone?
Correct. Well, they've gone silent.
Into the ether. Yeah, crickets.
Yes, and there have been some discussions. My understanding, First Union had some in-depth discussions with with New Zealand First, and we've just heard nothing, and we haven't heard anything from Winston Peters. So I don't. That's the thing. Everyone seems to have gone silent, including Shane Reti on this.